Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and today we're talking about some of the weird units of measurements they use on ships. This is another one of those questions we get asked all the time. Why do you measure a ship's speed in knots instead of miles per hour? Why is the range of the main guns measured in yards instead of miles or feet or inches? Like, why do they choose the units of measurement that they do? So here are my thoughts on those. So a lot of it is due to tradition. As early as the 15th century, sailors figured out that they could measure the speed of the ship by throwing something off the back of the ship and seeing how long it took to sail past it, or throwing something off the front of the ship and seeing how long it took to sail past it. And you could do all sorts of measurements and calculations based on that. And then not too long after that, they figured out if they leave a line attached to the object they throw off the ship, then they can measure the length of that line. And then they can get a somewhat more precise measurement. Now this technology, it's kind of low technology, but this technology evolved over the years, and it became known as a chip log, which is the chip, which is a quadrant that's about 5 inches wide, half-inch thick piece of wood. You throw off the back of the ship and it acts like a sail. So that holds it more or less in place, and then it is attached to a line that is that has knots tied into it. Now, obviously, you're sailing a sailing ship at 5, 6, 10, 15 miles per hour by the later age of sail, and you can't play out 15 miles of rope to figure out how fast you're going. So they broke that down into a ratio, and they found out that roughly 8 fathoms measured for 28 seconds gives you the equivalent of miles per hour. So what in the heck is a fathom? A fathom is one of those units of measurement that's ridiculously simple. When you are coiling rope, you do one of these, and then you bring your hands back together, and that makes another coil. And you do it the same length every single time, and your coils are all going to be the same length. Well, it turns out that a man's wingspan is identical to his height. And relatively normal height of a man is 6 feet, or approximately 2 meters, or 2 yards, depending on if you use the right or the wrong unit of measurement. So this wingspan / height is known as a fathom. And having a fathom means that you can take 8 of these coils and then tie a knot, and then 8 more of these tiles, tie another knot, and that gives you a ratio for speed over a 28-second period. Or if you throw out a rope over the side of the ship to measure how deep the water is you're sailing in, a lead line, it's just got a lead block on the bottom, and then you haul it back up. As you're coiling it, as you're pulling it up, you can count how many fathoms deep the water is. So units like fathom and knot we continue to use today because that's what we've always used. It's not just ships that use that. It's any vessel moving through fluid. So this includes aircraft. So fathoms are often used for depth and length, even today on Navy ships, just because it's still a simple way to measure. And knots are still used. Now, it turns out that ratio isn't exactly perfect. 8 fathoms over a 28-second period doesn't quite 100% work out to a mile per hour, but it does come out to 2,000 yards, which is about 1.15 miles per hour. So a knot is about 1/6 larger than a normal mile per hour. So whereas an Iowa-class battleship should be able to sail about 32 or 33 knots, that ends up being about 38 miles per hour. So the main reason we're shooting this video is because somebody asked why the range of the guns is measured in yards. That's relatively simple. measuring them in miles is not enough granulation for when you're aiming at a target. But feet and inches is way more granulation than you need. So yards comes out to just the perfect amount for when you're lobbing a shell, about 23 miles or 46,000 yards. The real reason the US Navy probably uses this, some of the first analog computers were developed for British battleships, and I suspect those early European computers were measured in meters. So the US just used their nearest equivalent when they adopted those, and then continued to modernize them into their own computers like this Ford Mark I Able, which is used to aim our 5-inch guns. And if I've got any ground pounders or crayon eaters watching, you guys want a unit of measurement too. Let's go with the league. A league is basically a yard, but for miles. So a league is 3 miles. Now, interestingly, while things like fathoms and knots are tradition that go back centuries, using yards to measure how far you shoot is not really. During the age of sail, things were often measured in pistol shots. We laid alongside an enemy within pistol shot or half a pistol shot, things like that. And with those old flintlock pistols, pistol shot is roughly as far as you can throw the pistol, so more or less 25 feet. So oftentimes in these early broadside battles, you're getting stuck up in there. You're getting real close to the enemy when you're firing. Now, obviously, as the range and accuracy of guns improve, measuring the range of our guns in tens of thousands of pistol shots is a little bit absurd. So we go with yards instead. Can you think of any other weird measurements that are used on ships? Let us know in the comment section down below. The only other one I can think of is frame spacing. 4 feet on a battleship or 2 feet on a destroyer, which is pretty standard. But let me know if you can think of any that I have missed. Let me know if you've found any uses for these kind of archaic units of measurement. Do you use fathoms or leagues or pistol shots in your daily life? Let us know down below. In the description below, there's a link to my Facebook page if you'd like to connect with me. There's also a link to where you can donate to support the museum. You can also support the museum by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find out about our channel. And Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State. Thanks for watching.